Come, let us explore the hidden connection between food and meditation. Together, let us relaxingly recite. In late-stage capitalism, there are many who have a vested interest in keeping us locked in the frenzy of various iterations of the kill or be killed mindset. Come, let us wax subversive, for although the United Nations explained it would take $6 billion to end world hunger, compassion is not an exclusive club with an entry fee or 2-drink minimum. In fact, some of the most compassionate things we could do merely involve our consumer choices. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is comprised of the mental kindness of intention, the interpersonal kindness of communication, the physical kindness of conduct, and the circumstantial kindness of commerce. Now, I'm going to do a quick edit here. I hope you don't mind. All right, I think this is easier on the eyeballs. Let's make sure it fits on the screen. It appears to. Let's move forward. However, there is nothing kind about using our consumer choices to coerce an underpaid worker to exploit no less slaughter living beings because we want a snack. On average, worldwide, every day, a vast ocean of sentient beings is murdered. More than 900,000 cows, 1,400,000 goats. And once again, I'm going to play with the editing. Home. Okay. 900,000 cows. 1,400,000 goats. 1,700,000 sheep, 3,800,000 pigs, 12 million ducks, 202 million chickens, and hundreds of millions of fish. Now let's make sure this fits on the page. It doesn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let's move on. Let's keep it moving. Each of them yearning to live and not die, just like us. Through the convenience, let's try this again. Through the convenience of a cruelty-free diet, we get to exercise greater compassion to the environment, to non-human animals, and If we consume a whole food vegan diet to this very body, which supports our meditation. And even though we could watch the video Dominion and 101 other videos that could pull at our heartstrings, remember we are already wired to love. Every time we put a rabbit and an apple in a playpen, the human child always pets the rabbit and eats the apple. We are natural-born herbivores. It is only our amygdala that makes us aggressive. And the more we authentically practice mindfulness and meditation, even as little as once every 12 hours or so, the more we'll calm the anxiety and aggression of our survival-oriented amygdala and stimulate the empathy of our anterior cingulate gyrus. This is why the Buddha taught mindfulness and meditation. So let's see if I can make this fit. All right. Excuse me. Having completed our opening lesson, let us now switch gears. It is Rey Skywalker's Sunday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I could become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's play with the latest iteration of very easy meditation practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. We begin with our first collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations. Upon the tip of our left index finger, we could rest our right index finger. We could rest our right index fingers, third, second, or first knuckle, palms up in our lap. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. What could that look like? Well, that could look like the majority of people, including meditation teachers, preferring Yang's religious patriarchy to Yin's spiritual matriarchy. It could look like 90% of teachers preferring to be rigid than flexible, fearful than loving, superstitious than rational, controlling than laid back. It could look like 90% of so-called meditation teachers referring to be elitist rather than egalitarian, cryptic rather than lucid, competitive rather than cooperative, cruel rather than kind. Therefore, it should come as little surprise that the majority of so-called meditation teachers will implore their students to actively focus and actively analyze. Now, the only parts of our brain that are capable of performing those actions are discrete neural pathways, such as those found in the medial or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The danger is that when we overwork those areas, we increase our probability of presenting with the symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the seat of the anxiety and aggression that are the polar opposites of peace and love that give life so much of its meaning. Fortunately, neither the prefrontal cortex nor the amygdala constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Case in point, every time we inhale, we are wired to automatically access the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, which is the opposite of the rigidity of concentration. Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the parasympathetic nervous system, divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system supports the physical relaxation and mental release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and even less defining. The most efficient way for us to cooperate with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are for us to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, as well as the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. Good morning, Jay. It is a delight to have you here. Now, remember, the moment you have a specific question, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I check for questions approximately once every 15 minutes or so. One of the many lies of elitist patriarchy is that one must master the full lotus posture, but the Buddha never taught such malarkey. When we look at the most ancient Buddhist statuary, we'd see the Buddha depicted as sitting not in the full lotus posture, but merely the quarter lotus posture, wherein each leg is stacked like the pieces of bread in a peanut butter sandwich. The first time we never want to force our knees or our hips or our ankles. And so the first time we try this, it can be ungainly and asymmetrical, and that's okay. We respect our limitations, and we sit in whatever hodgepodge of a posture we can for at least 5 minutes once every 12 hours or so. And after a week or two, our body really could surprise us. Together, let us practice right now. If you like rock and roll like I like rock and roll, you might enjoy the classic Rolling Stones song from the 70s, You Can't Always Get What You Want. It's not our job to scheme and strive to realize every desire. It's our job to lovingly go with the flow in the most centered of manners. Let's review the lessons to be learned from the iconography of Samantabandhara and Samantabandhari. The nudity of Samantabandhari reminds us that to be effective, mindfulness must be vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting. The color of Samantabandhara reminds us that as we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation can feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. The beauty of the couple, Samantabandhara, Samantabandhari, Karamamundara, reminds us that the highest love is the spontaneous and uncontrived byproduct of mindfulness as well as meditation. The stability with which Samantabandhara sits reminds us of centeredness. The abandon with which Samantabandhari sports in tantric union reminds us of spontaneity. When our choices, utterances, and deeds flow from love's centered spontaneity, that is the effortless byproduct of mindfulness and meditation, that is the effortless effort of the sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Or every time we inhale, our sympathetic nervous system is already wired to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. The easiest we have a choice. We can either fight against this and concentrate, or we can cooperate with this by simply silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. During each exhalation, our parasympathetic nervous system is already wired to physically relax and mentally release. We could compete against these tendencies by actively analyzing, or we could cooperate with these tendencies by simply silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. We come now to the third collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations. On the tip of our left middle finger, we could rest our right middle finger's third, second, or first knuckle palms up in our lap. Let's take a moment or two to review the lessons to be learned from the iconography of Vajrasattva. In his left hand, Vajrasattva holds a brass implement described in Sanskrit as a vajra or diamond. And it reminds us that every time we breathe in, our sympathetic nervous system is already wired to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. To notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. To notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. In Vajrasattva's left hand, he holds a bell, or ghanta in Sanskrit. And this reminds us that as we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation could feel as resounding, yet as void, or I should say resounding, yet as non-graspable as the tone of a bell. The most efficient way for us to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system is, well, the easiest way to compete against our sympathetic nervous system is for us to actively concentrate. The easiest way to cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system is to silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during each inhalation. Our parasympathetic nervous system already wants to physically relax and mentally release. We compete against it by actively analyzing. We cooperate with the relaxation and release of a parasympathetic nervous system by silently and mentally reciting the three-syllable verb relaxing during each exhalation. Together, let us do that right now. While performing these silent and mental three-syllable recitations, we could feel our inhalations and our exhalations in our rib cage. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class as well as group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.